Hi, I'm Ben Brown, and this is...
My name is Ben Bylsma. I work here at Kalamazoo Valley Community College's Food Innovation Center. I'm the production manager here.
And I will be the instructor with the Kalamazoo Roots program that you all are a part of. And this is funded in part, it's a collaboration with the City of Kalamazoo, Kalamazoo Valley Community College, and the Foundation for Excellence.
Through this project, we're going to be releasing a series of videos kind of taking you step by step through the season as you use the different growing systems that we're supplying through the Kalamazoo Roots program. Today we're going to be talking about planting your 7-gallon pots that you've been supplied. Hopefully you've had it picked up or delivered at this point, so you're ready to get growing.
Ben, did you say that this would be a monthly video and then the following week would be a Q&A?
I did say that.
Okay.
So we'll be releasing videos on a monthly basis, which will be followed up by a live Q&A session with Ben Brown and myself, where we can answer any specific questions you have related to it. And you can send those questions in ahead of time, or you can wait until the actual video meeting to ask us the questions.
So Ben, what are we doing today?
Today we're going to be planting the 7-gallon container that we're going to be growing out. We're going to, here at our site, we're going to be doing 2 of them for use throughout the class to show to you guys. So today we're going to fill the container with soil, we're going to lay out our crop, and do the actual planting.
So in addition to the pot, what else do we have?
So we have the bag of soil that was rebagged by our staff here at the Food Innovation Center. We have the mix of plants that are all labeled with what they are. We have mustard greens, lettuce, collard greens, and parsley. We have a small bag of lime. We also have a large bag of lime. That's for your earth box kit, which you'll be receiving later. We have a small bag of fertilizer, which is in for a couple weeks, so don't use that quite yet. You also will have been supplied with 2 packets of seeds, one of radish seeds and one of beet seeds. Those are the different things we'll be using today.
It looks like you're setting us up for success.
I hope so.
This will be good. Okay, let's get started.
All right.
Excellent. Can I go ahead and pour the soil in?
Yeah, do you want any gloves?
You know, we can use gloves, and that's always a good idea, but yeah, I don't think we'll have to for this.
Okay.
Super.
I'll add the lime in then when you add the soil.
So I won't be pouring it in all at once then, will I?
I don't think so.
Okay. Wow. Is this messy, by the way?
It can be a little dusty.
Should I be doing this, like, is it okay if I do it, like, in the living room, you think?
I would recommend doing it either outside or on a hard surface where you can easily sweep up. So now I'm going to add a little bit of the lime in with the soil here.
And what is the lime for?
The lime helps balance out the acidity of the soil, which allows the nutrients to be absorbed by the plant.
That's cool. That's really cool. All of this is going to go in here?
The whole bag, it should fit.
Oops. Okay. Oops.
We use these pots to fill the bag, so they should be exactly the same volumes.
Gosh, that was handy. Super. Hey, that did fit.
All right.
Now, do we have to mix this in?
We do. You can either use a tool to mix it in, or I like to just use my hand. So I'm just going to reach my hand in here and lifting it up so that the lime balance moves up and down through the soil.
Wow, that is looking good.
Great.
So you're making a really good home for the plants.
Yep, getting it well mixed, loosening the soil, and it should be able to receive the plants pretty easily. Once you no longer find spots that are pure white, then you know that you have it pretty well mixed.
Super. Now, should we add the fertilizer in there or not yet?
Not yet. That's for later on. Right now, the soil comes with some fertilizer in it naturally, and that will supply what the plants need for the first couple weeks.
So, Ben, this looks great, but it's definitely dry. I think you mentioned something about watering it.
Yeah, we're going to want to wet the soil before we plant the plants and the seeds. I got some water right here. You could also use a garden hose or maybe just a water glass you have lying around. Or you could even put it in the kitchen sink and use this faucet.
Now, will it come out through the bottom?
Some water will come out through the bottom. So again, this is going to be a messy procedure, so you might want to do it outside or in a place where you can do easy cleanup. A bathtub is a place that can get wet pretty easily too. So
I think that's a good idea.
I would say a trick to doing this is adding just a little bit of water at a time, because it's like a dry sponge. If you pour the water on, initially it's just going to wash off the sides and won't actually soak in, and we want it to saturate all the way through. So I'm just going to add a little bit of water, then let it sit. And I want to wait for all the water to actually soak in before I add more water to it.
That is fantastic. Because I was worried that the water would just kind of sit on top, but it's absorbing like a sponge.
Slowly and surely.
Now, will this mix hold the water in it pretty well? Or will I have to water like a couple of times a day? Or?
Not a couple times a day. It depends on the weather conditions. If it's really hot and sunny, you may have to water it every day. But if it's cool and cloudy, there will probably be enough days between it. Once it's all the way soaked through, feel it with your hand, and that way you know what it feels like to be wet soil. You don't want it to dry out all the way, so just by getting used to touching it, you get a feel for when it's too dry.
So like a damp sponge maybe, rather than a wet sponge dripping?
Yeah, rather than something that's dripping soil afterwards. So, because plants actually breathe through their roots somewhat as well, and so they can't just sit in a puddle of water.
Very important, yeah. I have in the past had water sitting in my pots and the plants were not happy. So there's that balance. Thank you, Ben. Wow. I know sometimes for some of my plants, I will water it till the water starts to come out the bottom, and then I will set it up so that it will finish draining. Is this something we have to worry about here, or maybe not?
This will drain itself out all the way because it has a hole actually in the bottom center of it. So we don't have to elevate it afterwards.
Cool. So how much water do you think it will take? Maybe, is this a 2-gallon?
This is a 2-gallon watering can. I had maybe a gallon and a half of water in it. And I think it might be about a full gallon and a half. So if you're going to water it in with cups, you might want to have a couple cups handy to carry water back and forth. And
the other question that comes to mind, can I use any water? Or like tap water, or does it have to be rainwater, or?
This is city water. This is water straight from, well, it could be straight from the tap. We get it out of a hose here at the Food Innovation Center. Rainwater is an excellent source. It is neutral acidity-wise, which is good for their soil. If you have well water, that's also fine. Because this is an organic soil, it's able to balance out the acidity in the water to make it a nice environment for the plants as well.
Just turn this on. So yeah, I have about 700 gallons of rainwater collection at home. So I can get about 2,100 gallons of water in a season.
That's a lot of water.
I have a lot of garden. So. Do you want me to test the soil?
Yeah, if you're curious, you can dig down and see how far down the water moisture has penetrated.
And then I'll probably want some water to rinse my hand in, too.
Yeah, I'll go get a little more water.
Okay. And I'm still going to go ahead and talk. Ben, you would not believe that this is still dry in parts of it. I don't know if the camera will be able to get that. I'm going to actually tip the bucket so you can see. Even though we've had 2 gallons of water put in, just about 2 gallons, there's some dry sections yet. Now, would you have to mix this by hand or with the tool?
No, the moisture would eventually work its way through, but because we're filming everything today, it'd be nice to get it all the way moist.
Super. Now, do you do this at home?
I actually do not do much container gardening at home.
You sound like my friend the plumber, but he does have plumbing at home, so that was a good thing.
Yeah, now that you've mixed it, this looks pretty good to me.
Actually, you know what? I think I agree. But
We can see a little bit of water coming out through the bottom now.
And that's how I would know that I would have enough water in the container. Now, do I need to let this drain at all, or you think it's ready to
I
plant?
think it's ready to go right now.
It looks great. This is really a nice mix. And I'm glad that we added the lime to help kind of balance things out so it wouldn't be too much for the plants. Ben, I think we did a really good job with the
It
soil.
looks excellent. I think it's time to plant.
Oh, gosh.
So we got our plants and our seeds. How would you recommend getting the plants out of the container there?
Well, when you do transplanting, it's an art you always improve at. but you want to put the plants under the least amount of stress, so you want to be careful getting them out. And we have this handy dandy little, it's actually letting you know what's in the box, but you can also use it to kind of loosen the edge, around the edge of the little cell that the plants are in, and that will help when you go to remove the plant from that cell or block. These are called cells a lot of times in the greenhouse business, and that will help loosen them up. And you don't want to actually stab the plant, you want to actually just move along the side of the box. And that will make it easier. Kind of like cutting, would you say it's kind of like cutting cake out of a pan or pie out of a pan?
That sounds about right. Think the collards are ready?
Super. So once I've loosened the soil all around, I'm going to use a little bit of gravity to help pull them out. You want to be gentle with the plants. You don't want to actually squeeze them. Ideally, you'd be able to pull them out just gently, grabbing the leaves and such, and just kind of pulling, and they'll come out with the cell. But again, the first priority is not to shock them too much. And as you can see...
Nice work, Ben.
Hey, you set us up because you grew these, didn't you?
I did.
Okay, thank you, Ben. So this is collard, and spacing-wise, it's going to be important. We'll have different spacings, like the collard will grow up fairly big, and we'll be putting other plants around them. So we would probably want to center this in the middle of the pot. I'm going to kind of loosen these roots just a little bit, and again, I'm trying to be gentle as possible with this. And then I'm just going to go ahead and put this in. Does that sound good?
Yeah. How deep do you bury it?
Well, you should bury it roughly equal or level with the soil of,
Okay.
of the square there that you've gotten out. Too deep, it's not going to be good, and too shallow, it will be prone to dry out. And again, I'm going to try not...
How hard are you pushing on the soil around the plant?
Kind of gently. I'm not wanting to...
It still looks nice, kind of nice and loose, but in good contact.
Right. And you don't want like too much air around the roots, because then the roots will dry out and then they won't do as well. So,
Cool.
excellent, thank you.
Should we do the rest really fast?
Yes, how about if we work as a team? I will loosen up the soil on some of the plants, like we have parsley here. Is this really parsley?
Yeah.
My parsley is nowhere near as big as this. This looks great, Ben.
It's a little leggy.
Yeah. Well, you can also, the nice thing about the parsley is you can trim it back and it will grow back. Some of the plants that we'll be using won't grow back quite so easily. Like with the lettuce, it's once and then you'll eat it. Ben, can I give this to you? And I'll be working on the next cell and you can talk about what you're doing.
Looks like sometimes you get a plant that doesn't come out all the way nice and clean. That's still fine. It's got roots on it still. It's just you're just going to be careful as you put it in that you don't remove any more root material from it as we go. So sometimes the things don't work out perfectly, and that's okay as well.
Now, are we going to be able to get all these plants in that pot, do you think, Ben?
I think so.
And what about,
We want to put, after we have the collard greens right in the middle, we want to put the other ones around the edge so that they all get about 6 inches of space as we go.
there you go. And this is called interplanting, when you plant several different varieties close to one another, and if you time it right, one plant, like we'll be using seeds as well, and you'll harvest some of the plants before the other ones are mature. Can you talk about that a little bit more, Ben?
Yeah, so the lettuce plant, this is head lettuce, so we're going to harvest the whole head of lettuce when it gets cut, which will make space for the collard greens as they get bigger and start to fill this space in. We also have the radish and beet seeds that when you harvest a radish or a beet, you remove the whole plant from the space. So I'm going to put the two lettuces together next to each other with a couple inches in between so that when they get removed, we'll have a nice open space where we can follow it up with maybe some of the radishes or the beets or maybe some other herbs that you purchase for yourself that you can add into the pot later on in the season.
I'm going to give you that.
This is the parsley label, so I'm going to put it next to my parsley plant so we'll remember what it is.
And you would be amazed that sometimes, if you don't label them, you will forget what you actually planted. So what other plants? I'm thinking the parsley, they'll be able to get several harvests from.
Yep,
like-
you just pull off the biggest leaves at the bottom as it grows. And you probably will have to wait at least a month before you're harvesting anything from this container. Just to
Give the
settle your
plant-
expectations.
And that'll give the plant a chance to get strong, and it will be okay with having a little haircut from time to time, or leaf cut in this case. And with mustard, these are mustard greens, right?
These are mustard greens.
You will also there's two ways that I've seen people harvest them. Sometimes people will actually cut the largest leaves off, and the rest of the plant will grow. Other times I've seen them actually just pick out the whole plant. There we go. Gosh, this looks awfully good. And this will fill in. This will be totally green and full shortly. Shortly meaning like about a month or so.
Yeah.
And we also have seeds to put in as well. And your other lettuce is here. Just because I'm a little bit weird, I want all the signs facing the same direction. There. Okay.
What do you think, Ben? Time to do some seeds?
I definitely think it's time to do some seeds, and it looks like a great job so far.
It's looking good so far.
Oh, I forgot, our seeds are over here. We have red beets, and we also have radish seeds. The nice thing about these are quick growing seeds that you may be able to harvest in 4 to 5 weeks.
So looking at the seeds, the radish seeds are quite small. We got about 8 of them there, versus the beet seeds are a little bit larger. Still small, but one way you can tell them apart is the beet seeds have little spikes on the edges, versus the radish seeds are almost completely round.
And within the radish seeds, there's actually several seeds.
Within the beet seeds.
Within the beet seeds, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, yeah, within the beet seeds.
Yep. So with both of these, you want to bury them about the depth of your fingernail under the surface of the soil. Larger seeds like beans can go a little deeper, and like corn, but smaller seeds hold less energy, and so they need to be a little closer to the surface in order for them to have a chance to grow. A normal cluster is probably about 4 seeds, so I'm scooping up the ones I don't need. I'm leaving 4 radish seeds in my hand so I don't accidentally drop the rest into the soil, because once they're in the soil, it's hard to find them back. And I'm going to spread them out I'm going to smooth out a spot here. I'm going to lay them about 1 inch apart from each other. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just going to use my finger to push them in to the depth of my fingernail.
I like it, that's a good
And then I'm going to sprinkle a little soil over top so it's nice and loose so the seeds don't have to work hard to emerge. And I left a little spot open there for the beet seeds, so Ben can plant those.
Okay. And I keep wanting to call these radish, but yes, these are beet seeds. And in case you don't know, Michigan does sugar beets. They raise sugar beets here. And again, there's more than one plant or seed in these capsules. So I'm going to space them out like about maybe 2 inches apart, and then they will spread from there. And I'm a bad gardener. I'm going to put a bunch of these in here. There we go.
It is hard to resist.
Yes.
So now that we have it in, we can see this is the 4-inch mark. We have about 4 inches between each one of our plants here, which gives us the proper spacing for each one of them. A plant like a pepper or an eggplant or a tomato needs much more space, but for these greens and herbs, this is enough space for us to work with.
And the other neat thing about this, Ben, is these are all spring crops, so they'll be good in cooler weather, and we'll be able to get at least one harvest out of here. What happens afterwards, we could actually do another cropping, couldn't we?
We could do another crop in the summer, and we're planning on distributing plants for this later on in the summer for everyone to plant in the fall, so they can have another cold hardy container of crops that they can harvest for themselves going even into the winter.
You know what this reminds me of?
I don't.
This is a lot like printing money. It is like you walk outside your door, you have food.
Just like that.
Super. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ben.
Looking forward to doing this again, Ben.
I'm looking forward to learning more with you as well. I have an idea, Ben. How about we carry this empty one around for finding a place to plant it rather than the really heavy planted one?
Oh, that way we can use that as an example
That's
of what people should do if they're trying to figure out where to put the pot.
That's a good idea. Where do you think we should put it?
Well, we'll need sun, but again, in the spring we don't have to worry about it burning being too hot.
Mm-hmm.
So ideally, we'd want to have it on the south side, is that correct?
Sounds good to me.
South or east or west, but not so much the north.
No.
So if the sun comes out, we'll have some really good examples of what not to do.
2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay, so it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That means that the sun is primarily on the west side, right?
Yep.
But we want sun. So if this is the north side of the building, there's shade here, right?
Yeah, it looks like it's shaded all the time.
And so the plants will grow as well on the north side because of all the shade. But they would grow better if it was on the south side, or if it was, we could plant it right here, ideally, because it would get sun. But again, it's going to get primarily the late afternoon or afternoon sun, depending. Or if you have a porch, or where else could we driveway?
I mean, a porch would work if it doesn't have a roof.
Good point. Or if the porch has a lot of sun windows, couldn't it?
That could work too.
Yeah.
With a lot of windows. I would say just watch your shadows.
Thinking about the sun, what other concerns could we have?
Well, coming off of a house, you might, if you don't have gutters, you might have a drip edge where the water runs off the roof and then falls down. And if that was landing right in your pot, it might wash your soil and your plants out of your container. That could be a problem.
That could be a problem too.
I guess then if you're putting it in your yard, you don't want to put it in a spot where you always have a puddle as well, because then the plants might drown in that space as
You
well.
were a mind reader. That's exactly what I was thinking of too.
All the different ways of killing your plants.
That's right. Or I have actually seen 2 pots, one next to a brick wall that was really getting a lot of sun, and the other away from it. And the pot next to the brick wall got drier, so it needed more water.
Oh, because the brick wall was absorbing heat and then drying out the
Yeah.
pot.
So those are type of things to consider. But again, like the porch, if it has windows, I did have a friend that actually got a smaller pot and put his pot underneath the porch to keep it safe from critters. And nothing grew.
Huh.
Why do you think that was?
I don't know. What do you think?
No sun.
Oh, that'll do it. Yeah, if it's underneath the porch, that makes sense. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for being a part of learning about gardening. And hopefully we'll see you again. Ben, I appreciate your help in all of this.
That has been a lot of fun.
And definitely those plants look great, and people are going to have a lot of fun with all of this.
Yeah. We're looking forward to the question and answer time on April 28th, so tune in for that.